Hi, it's Claire, your intuitive reader. Am I reading your story? Let's find out. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. We're starting a new year together. This has been an incredible 7 months of building a community with you guys, and I couldn't be more grateful for your love, support, comments, showing up, and being a part of the Koala Collective. This is a very important thing to me. I don't just come on here and like take this for granted that you guys show up. I feel very, very honored. So I wanted to go in fresh. I pulled a whole bunch of cards and I got a lot about you being the riddle. You are the entire universe. You are a part of the universe. And this is sort of a riddle that you're going over. You're starting to realize that you are the one. You are this important component in the world. And I've been doing some more scrying. You can see a lot of circles. And what I've been noticing about looking in this is seeing a lot of red. I got a lot of red in your cards, and this is talking about going back to your roots, going back to the very basic part of who you are. And I'm a little under the weather still, so I might get a little distracted, but I want to show up and be here for you guys. Oh, this is really interesting. So I have some beads here, and I'm looking at them through the scrying, and you can't see it, but in this it looks like a clutch. It's called a clutch of fish eggs, and these are protected. So this is, oh, I was getting this earlier. So your energy is out there, like you send it out as these little babies, these tiny little parts of you that go out there into the world and into the universe and go and help others. You don't even have to be closely connected to them. Your energy goes out there. And what's happened is you sent out so much of your energy and you haven't called it back. And so you're feeling depleted, you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling like, oh my gosh, like I can't seem to get, I've been actually having trouble breathing, which is, it doesn't happen very often. I do have asthma, but I keep it treated. So, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've sent out a lot of energy. I've done a lot of readings. I've got to make sure that I always pull it back, that I always say return to sender. Not return to sender, return my energy, calling it back. And maybe that's part of it. It's just like, you're feeling like you have a lot of energy within your aura, but it's actually other people's energy. So when you return their energy and then you call back your energy, it'll fill you up in a different way, because we can feel kind of like constricted. When someone's energy is like kind of in our enclosed bubble, we can feel like that we aren't missing anything when we actually are. So the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles talks about slow moving, working on something, but it's slow moving. It's guaranteed though. Like slow and steady wins the race. And so this race that you're on is about, it's more of a marathon. It's like this long-term thing, like creating a life. Like we all understand that it takes a lot of work. It takes the right environment, it takes time, and you can't rush it. And if a baby comes too soon, it will have problems because it won't have developed. It'll need more protection when it's out in the world, because it's not in its insulated cocoon. It's not in its bubble, like in this, it's not in its bubble, and then inside its egg. So it's no longer protected from that. So what you're working on is going to take a little longer because your development got disrupted when you were younger. You may have been full term and stuff, but when you were developing as a child, you weren't given everything you needed. You weren't protected. So now as an adult, you're coming into it and you're like, oh, this is taking me a lot longer to learn these, to unlearn things I did learn, and then to go back and relearn things as an adult. And yes, it's more work, but you can have more intention now as an adult. Yes, it is a lot easier to learn as a child, but the reason it's easy to learn as a child is because there's no program that has to be written over. So you can think of it kind of like a computer program. You're going to have to rewrite your code because the code you have currently in your system and your programming is actually not working for you. It's not complete. So that means that you will have to go and decide you're no longer going to hold on to this. So if you learned, let's just say, you learned how to spell things or math. You learned, someone taught you in your household that 2 + 2 = 3. And you spent your whole life like that, so you based all the calculations you ever did on this erroneous equation that you were taught. And yes, I know nobody's going to teach you that equation. But sometimes when we're taught things like, pain equals love, or to always sacrifice yourself, it only works to protect you in your childhood, to keep you safe in an unhealthy environment. But as you go into the world, you go, wait, 2 + 2 = 4. What were they talking about? And instead of analyzing, oh my gosh, what's wrong with them? Look what they did to me. You can just go, they were wrong. They didn't know any better, or, they, sorry about that. They didn't know, or they just didn't care to actually teach you. And so you had to learn on your own and you made mistakes. So now as an adult, you can say, oh, that information is incorrect. I was tying my shoes the wrong way. I'm not going to keep doing it. I was driving on the wrong way. I wasn't, God, what? I was writing, I'm dyslexic. And so I used to write letters inverted, so N's and U's. They would be flipped, and I didn't understand that I was seeing things incorrectly. And so once people taught me, I was like, oh, okay, now I know that's incorrect. So when I see an N, I had to make the sound, and when, and then U, So when I looked at the letters, I started assigning a sound to them versus just going, oh, okay, I've got to make sense of this, or P's and Q's. So, mind your P's and Q's. Well, I couldn't until I learned what sound they made. So I had to learn certain things that came easy to other people. But so I have to take longer when I'm spelling things out, or, writing. If I get really tired, I'll often invert things. Cool thing about being dyslexic, though, is I can read things backwards really easily. I can write backwards. I can write upside down and backwards. I can do numbers backwards and upside down and reversed, and do equations that way. So there are benefits to seeing things differently. But sometimes if they're not serving you, we have to, take the good, but leave the bad and learn the proper way to learn. So this takes time. This takes a lot of time and a lot of work, but eventually the time and the effort you put into it will be well worth it. Wow, we only got one card. I've been enjoying speaking to you guys. During the lives, I get a lot more time to interact with you guys and really enjoy our time together. And I see how much you guys are working. I can feel it in the energy and the fact that you guys come in here and you really want to move forward. Oh, really cool. Okay, wow. So this deck has a specific, like, 2 very special cards that are not part of the standard tarot. And this is the Phoenix. And we know the story about the phoenix rising from the ashes. The thing is, I don't think everybody thinks about it this way. And it's not just like this bird that comes forward. It's actually made out of fire. It had to burn to ash, completely gone. There was nothing left. And then that desolate ash is what gave birth to the phoenix, this fire bird, this bird that's springing forth after having an ending. It was, that was it. There was nothing left. It was just ash. They weren't expecting it to rise. That's the momentous thing. That's the incredible thing about the phoenix. And then you got the Page of Wands, and see how we're seeing here this light. So as you rise from the ashes, you're being reborn. The Page is the youngest of cards, and now venturing into the light, a new light path. So you had to die completely. You had to be reborn so that you could be on your path. And then the Sun. And then you go along and you learn and you go through on your path and you become the teacher. And this is really beautiful. So like through your hard work, through letting things go, through going into the unknown, and doing all that work, you went through an ending, a complete and utter ending. I have to be careful about the words I use on YouTube, but you were no longer alive in every other way. The phoenix is a complete rebirth. So you had to let everything go because it no longer existed. You could no longer function in that reality. It just wasn't there. This could have been a literal death of a family structure, a marriage, some kind of, maybe you, like me, I crossed over for a very short period of time years ago when I got really, really sick. And I remember having a communication and like hearing from a distance, my partner saying, please, please don't leave. Please come back. And I remember being very calm, but going, oh, I have a choice now. I have a choice now. Do I want to stay and have a rebirth? Because I will not be the same after I come back. I will have to start all over. And I understood that in this very calm way. Like, this isn't going to be easy. This is going to be a new life. This is going to go through the birthing process. It's going to be painful. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm not going to be able to count on anything I know because I'm starting new. And I could hear and feel the people around me were not ready to be on this plane without me. And so I decided to come back. And it's been a journey. It's been like, where did my faith go? Where did my clear path go that I had always had? Where did my ability to manifest that, like, out of nowhere, like out of thin air, I could manifest? And coming back, I was like, whoa, this is a whole, I'm having to start all over. I don't remember things. I don't have the same, and I didn't have brain damage. So I had scans after that. I had MRIs and CAT scans and stuff. And my brain was functionally the same. I mean, it was healthy. I wasn't having any neural damage, to those centers of my functioning, but my entire being was different. And so then I had to start fresh as the page here. I was no longer the knight. I was a new, fresh entity. And the people around me started noticing that I acted differently, that I didn't seem like the same person. I didn't seem to have the same memory recall for experiences that I had once had. I wasn't able to manifest in the same ways. I had always been able to think health. I had always been able to get better and heal injuries, and I'd had broken bones and, worked mind over matter and healed myself. I fell 12 feet and with it, I was still conscious and I was very badly injured, but I had always been able to do these things, but when I came back, I was starting fresh. I didn't remember how to do any of these things. I had to make the deal of coming back that I was starting a new life. And going through that portal was intense. It was like, whoa, this is a lot of heat. I'm not used to it. I don't know how to function. I don't know how to do these things. And the people in my life are like, you know how to do these things. Why aren't you doing them? There's nothing showing that you shouldn't be able to do these things or interact with us in the same ways. And I wasn't the same person. I had started a new life. And now, after many years of learning, I went on my own path. I went into who I was and really delved into what my life path was this time. It was like I had lived now another life, in the same quote unquote lifetime as the person you see, but I was not the same. And I had to learn everything brand new. And so coming into that, what that taught me was that I need to teach people in that way. I need to like offer the information and assume that they're going to feel like it's hard to stumble as an adult. It's hard to be okay with making mistakes. But this energy is so beautiful. I mean, look at this energy of the phoenix and the page of wands and then the sun. All this fire energy, all this power and passion, and having to learn to wield it. That's, by the time this happened, I had lived on the earth 30 something years. So coming back into it and being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm not the same person anymore. It was hard. Oh my gosh, the chariot, more fire energy. Look at this like moving forward. And that's what it started off very tentative, like feeling like I don't know what to do. And as I worked on this, I do feel that I've gotten a groove going. I've started to learn what this lifetime is about and seeing each one for what it is. Like the things I did in my past life of before I, wasn't there for a few minutes, or a few seconds. It seemed like a very long time because time felt so different. I can't even describe it. It did exist, but it didn't. And it only existed because I knew that others were still in that time period. But for me, it was just a completely different experience, and it changed who I was. I could not be the same person. But as I've come back, I've realized I have a ferocity. I have a power, a drive that I did not have before. I feel very focused because I had to find the focus. I had always been able to count on that. I just knew. I felt very connected to source. I would go into a church or a holy place or just be in nature, and I would literally feel like I was a part of everything and I knew my path. And after this happened, I did not have any of that anymore. I had to find it. I had to look into the light of who I was and then face the world. See, it's like they're going in as a child and then coming out as a strong ass adult, a strong ass leader. And I get that that's your energy. I think a lot of people can relate to the story of going through something. So even if you didn't technically, die, not be here for a short period of time, even for a few seconds, a lot of us have had such bad things happen or been in situations where we were maybe locked up in some kind of hospital or in jail or prison or in families or relationships that kept us so trapped that we actually stopped living. And then having a turning point where you're no longer that person anymore and coming out of it and having to learn everything new, how to interact with people, I've had to learn how to cook. It's very difficult. I used to cook all the time. I used to be able to, organize things crazy. Like I had, these incredible organized charts in my head that I could just call on. I could, I had everything there. And I had to learn that that's no longer the person I was. So I had to learn new things and new skills, and it was scary. But see, oh yeah, with the Page of Swords here, learning. So I'd always loved learning. So I took this as an opportunity. I'm like, wow, I actually get to live 2 lifetimes with at least, pictures and some memories that I can at least go, wow, that was this person. And now I get this new opportunity to live a different life. And that's pretty amazing. Not everybody gets to do that. So I started really educating myself. And I had to learn to be very kind to myself, that I was like a child in a lot of ways. I didn't understand how to do certain things. And I don't know why I'm telling you this story, but as I learned, I learned to be kind to myself and others, that things don't just come easily. They had always come easily to me, except organization. Like, I could not write a summary to save my life. Like literally writing critical thinking papers in college was so difficult for me. I failed critical thinking multiple times. English 5, I think. But I did great in advanced English and other things, and speech and all these other things. It was just that putting things in a summary. And now I have an easier time doing that, but a much harder time keeping like, oh, I've got to make this dish, and they've got to all come out at the same time. And so they're not cold or overcooked or undercooked or all these different things. I had a really hard time with that. I have a really hard time with keeping a multitasking. I used to be the queen of multitasking, and now I have a very difficult time doing that. Thinking of how things go together. I'd always been really great about like putting things together and making these elaborate decorations and designing things, and I could no longer do that. But I was learning that there were other things that I could do, other things that I was actually better at. And so it was an opportunity to develop skills as an adult that that I didn't have as a kid. And right here with the 2 of Cups, it's about a connection to yourself. When you don't have anything to call on, and you're an adult, and you're like, oh crap, I've got to figure out how to function in this world. You have to look within yourself. Like, okay, so when I'm looking at myself, so I look at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, okay, learning what I look like, what I sound like, what I'm coming across as. I have to train myself. I have to be my own caregiver. I have to be the one who teaches myself those things that I don't know how to do, or gets other people to come in and help me. And I feel like it's kind of a gift. I'm like, I didn't have a good childhood. I didn't. I'm not going to go into it, but it was not a good childhood. And I learned a lot of toxic behaviors because I had to survive. And that's the gift I got when I had this period of time of crossing over, because when I came back, that stuff wasn't even there. I was like, no, that doesn't exist. So I'm not carrying along this baggage, but I had to learn, very basic things. I had an occupational therapist. I had to learn how to stand, to walk, part of my face was paralyzed at one point, and I had to learn to, use my entire face and do these things. It was a complete rehabilitation and getting to know myself from a different perspective, and learning to love myself, learning to care and value the person that existed. Okay, so now every day I'm grateful to wake up. I'm grateful to be here. I am grateful to be around you guys. And I'm seeing that in a lot of people. People have reached out to me in this collective and they've been like, oh my gosh, I have cancer, or I had a stroke, or I had a severe abusive relationship and it impacted my brain in a way, and I'm not the same person. You're welcome here because I understand that. And I feel your energy. And, you know, the readings I've been doing lately have been a little different because, you know, there's a lot of people out there telling you, oh yeah, okay, I'll tell you, you know, your fortune, and I'm going to tell you about love. But the truth is, and I truly believe this after going through now 2 different lives, the truth is, once you learn it, once you parent yourself, once you take all the things you would want to teach, you know, your child, or your, you know, if you were your child, your own child, what you would want to raise yourself as. Once you realize that that's the biggest gift you've gotten, that you've done that work, you will automatically become a different person by training yourself, by teaching yourself to be the person you want, and you will attract someone who resonates with that. You will attract a soul tribe that resonates with that. You will attract animals that resonate with that, events, opportunities, prosperity that resonates with that. So I'm just looking at, so this is really cool. So the 7 of Cups. So yeah, this is very interesting. So here's the Page of Swords in this library, looking at books. And now part of it was introspection. I had to spend that time not just learning, because my brain didn't always let me put in the information the way I was used to learning. But a lot of it was about being still, being within myself, listening to myself. And that's one thing we don't do enough. And so this is a reminder to make sure that you're spending the time in the internal introspection, the internal learning, not just the book learning, not just, you know, meditating, you know, I'm going to be the best spiritual person ever. It's like that actually comes from connecting with yourself and loving yourself truly and seeing how far you've come. And, you know, these things we go through actually are gifts, and they send us in a smoother direction, whether we realize it or not. I think to a certain extent, I'm a much nicer person. Before all this happened, I think there was a certain amount of egotism about how, you know, I just could learn things. I just got it. I emotionally got things. I was regulated all the time. I on task, you know, and people would call me perfectionist, but for me, I was just very driven. And when I got so sick, I had to stay still. Stay still. I didn't even have the energy or the ability to read at certain points. I lost part of my vision at a certain point. I had such bad migraines that I couldn't listen to anything. I couldn't watch TV or movies at certain points. So it was literally sometimes laying on my back, staring at the ceiling, and not being able to even see that very clearly. So I had to go from being a very hyperactive person, a very on the go, let's go, impatient person, to being someone who had to just be within themselves. And that can either drive you crazy or it can give you a sense of growth and enlightenment. And so you moved into that space, and here's the 6 of Cups. So you have the 6 of Swords, about moving into a more peaceful, calm environment and headspace, because swords are about headspace, about thoughts. So calming down those thoughts. And the 6 of Cups, remembering who you were. Like at your core, not all the stuff that you learned, not all the coping mechanisms, but who you really are. This introspection of, like I was saying, look, you know, going through that path, that portal, and then looking in the mirror and seeing who you truly are. You know, you're all of these. You're all of these different parts of yourself. And just because, you know, your current structure ends It's an opportunity to have rebirth, to be the phoenix rising, to come from, you know, like you wrote, I mean, this is your glow up. This is your glow up because you survived things that other people would have just given up. They're like, oh, hell no. I have to start all over again in my 30s. I have to start all over. I put all this effort in. I had already been married. I had been in a relationship for 15 and a half years. I was in a new successful relationship for years. I had children. I was, you know, PTA mom. I was, you know, a super sought after special needs nanny and preschool teacher. I was all these things and doing great. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to start from square one. I have to start from having no recollection of how I was that person, how I could go like the Energizer Bunny and create incredible things and decorate my house to extreme lengths for birthday parties and be that parent and be that mom. Wow, the candle just popped. And it was burning out my candle. It was burning the candle and I wasn't even realizing it. So as I've slowed down with no choice, but instead of giving up, I was like, this is an opportunity to have a life I actually want. I'm actually much happier. I feel much more at peace. I don't have to go. I still get in that mindset sometimes because it's such a like mechanical thing of go. Every time I was sick, I would just like push myself. Didn't matter how sick I was. It didn't matter if 103 fever. It didn't matter. I would just go. And I even got the shingles 7 times and I just kept going. Time to go. I'll just push through. You can't push through the shingles. And so by the time I went through all this, I got COVID and I had learned now how to be okay with not being okay. And that taught me the survival skills because there were no doctors to help at that point. So it actually helped me survive. So sometimes we have to go through an immense ending, unaliving of our ego, of our life path that we chose in order to be in our true life path and be the phoenix. It takes time and we have to do most of it by ourselves. No one could do this journey with us. We can have people in our daily lives, but they cannot go on this journey with us. It is something we have to do by ourselves. So I think you guys are badass, strong, you know, phoenixes, and you guys are moving forward. It's great. I love the energy. I really like this. It brought up a lot of personal stuff, but you know, that I see is about you guys. I mean, here we have the child learning at the foot of the master, growing, you know, getting older and being able to go on their own, you know, journey, follow their own passions. Connecting with ourselves, learning and educating ourselves with childlike wonder, reflecting on who we are, what's important to us, and the immense transformations we've had, and then moving into a new dimension, moving into our true path. It's just beautiful. I really love your energy. I think it's wonderful, and I'm sorry, I'm still sick. So I love you guys. I just saw 33 on the timer. Very long reading for me, but a lot of synchronicities there. I love you guys so much. See, I'm wearing a Hello Kitty. Here, I don't know if I can show you guys, but on the back here, see, I got this sweater a few months ago, and I just love it. I'm just going more with what I like and not worrying about if I look like, you know, I'm dressed like a 14-year-old. But I'm just having fun with it, and I think that's important. So I'm going to ring the bell really quick before I go because I like clearing the energy. So if you enjoyed this story and you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on the little notification, and most importantly, come back. I love you guys, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.